So we're out here working on these Z7s, and we're getting ready to put tubes in these after we modify the port. I was trying to save a few of these runners because some were more out of shape than others, but I think we're just going to have to maybe bust through and just tube every runner, but we'll see. I'm just trying to even that out right now. Some of these are very out of shape, and then a couple other ones, they're not as bad, but I want a consistent port where I have line of sight, and I want it to be consistent as far as volume goes, as best I can get that. So that's what we're doing. We're just going to bust through right here, and somebody could say, do you have a hole in your head? And you could say, yeah, I do. I've had that asked me quite a few times. What's the matter? You got a hole in your head? As I'm doing this, I'm not just opening this up, I'm leveling the port as I go. And what will happen, we'll have a higher peak on this side where I'm grinding right here. So I want to knock this high peak down behind where you see this hole here. I want to get the high peak off instead of grinding so much here. Because I don't want to make this worse. I want to level this wall out first down the runner. So you don't want to dig in the front and make the high peak higher. You want to blend the high peak into the front, and then if you bust through, then you correct it. So I wanted to put that out there. If I just wanted to open this up right here, I could just bust through. I could just lay right here and just bust through, but I don't want to do that because then you'll get the port out of shape. If you bust through this first, instead of taking care of these high areas, what you'll do, you'll make a low area, and then it puts you out of shape because these are very rough casted ports, so it's hard to level these out in the first place. So and I'm using this grinding stone. You could use whatever you want. Something smaller and flatter would work. I switch back and forth here, and because I'm also still shaping these areas here, making them round in the corners, and but I don't want to hit the floor because then they will lower the floor. So I just use this in the corners on an angle. And you can feel it start to level out when you go back and forth. You can feel the port start smoothing out and getting more even across the center of the port. as you work behind where you see this high spot where in the front of the port here, you would want this a little bit higher so the air has tendency to ramp back easier. You don't want to make this low here in the front and then have this high peak. That's the whole idea of taking this high part of the port out. And this is the short side of the port that I'm working on that has the big bend in it. The whole idea of doing this is to get the air centered. Moving this wall back and getting the air more centered to where the valve is centered right there. That's why I'm knocking this back and taking this runner and cutting this all down where curvature is back right here. Has a very, very high spot right here still, and if I was just to go back and forth right here in the front, it would make that high spot back here worse, believe it or not. So that's why I'm trying to explain this as I go. Yeah, that's definitely coming around now. Now we can start working on making this more consistent towards the front. Starting to blend in pretty nice. Now, if you guys were to ever do this, you don't want to start feeling around here, rubbing your finger back across where you break through, because this is like a razor blade. This is so thin when you start busting through, so you just don't want to get in there and start putting your finger back and forth. I'm not pushing down when I'm doing this. It looks like I'm maybe doing that, but I'm actually not pushing down and feeling where it's broke through. I'm pushing it down just to see how thin it is there, but I'm not rubbing my finger back and forth. The viewfinder makes things look different, so I don't want to see anybody cut their finger trying to do something like this here. And we're through. Now we're going to be fixing this with epoxy and some tubing that I had purchased a while back, and I'll be showing that. And it's not a hard fix, it's pretty simple, and it's one of them deals where anybody can do it if you have the right material, and just take your time, and I'll be showing that in a different video, of course. And I try to stress in my videos, the average guy does not have to do this. This is something that I do. I'm trying to get the most out of this head right here. It's trying to make a lot of volume for a big cubic inch engine later on, and it has a blower that's going to be going on this engine, so or supercharger, whatever you want to call it. One of the bolt-on ones that go on the engine in the front, I believe that's what he has. But force induction. So that's what we're going to be taking in consideration when I do these heads. So after you get done with that, what you want to do is take either a carbide bit or a sanding roll here and level it back in. Because you'll have some high spots. That roller that I'm using right here, this roller, this stone that's like a pretty good size stone here, that will not cover all the low areas, so you're going to have your high spots be taken out, but the low spots won't, so you'll have to level it in with a sanding roll or a carbide, but something smaller like this. I always try to blend in further than the area that I'm working on to keep that consistent, because if you make something out of shape a little bit, that will help bring it back into shape. If you go and lay that flat and bring that where it's a factory type surface after you've already made it pretty nice, then that will help you bring this back into shape. As long as you don't dig, you want to keep it moving back and forth. Trying to show you a couple different steps, because usually what you would do is just keep the same tool you're using and just go right on down the line here, and then you could go back and smooth it out. But I'm trying to show you guys a couple different ways of doing this. If you want to do one port at a time and smooth it out after you use your cutter or a grinding stone, whatever way you want to do it, but you just want to make sure you keep the port consistent is the main thing, and you won't always want to know where you left off, because if you walk away and you think you smoothed this out and you didn't do it, then you'll have a port that's out of shape a little bit if you don't remember where you left off. Like, I put these heads away before and I had to remember where I left off, and I had this head was completely done. This one here, almost completely done, and I had not started on this other head as much. I had this done for a smaller application, like I showed you guys before. Trying to think of everything to cover my bases here, so you guys will know what to do. And if you've never done something like this before, you don't want to maybe take something like this on, but I put my videos out there for the guy that kind of maybe wants to try to do this, but you don't want to ruin your head in the process. So I always worry about that when I do these videos. I don't want to lead somebody to something where they're going to be in trouble, and especially if you don't know how to fix something like this here, you don't want to put a hole in your head. So it's best to leave it than to do what I'm doing here. So this is not a video to teach anybody really to do this. I'm just trying to show what I do, and if somebody winds up doing this, I want to let them know how to fix it, basically. I don't recommend it, but that's what makes it hard for me doing these videos, because you have one guy that's going to see a fellow on YouTube and he's going to try to imitate that guy, and I don't want to cause anybody any heartache trying to do what I'm doing here. So it's pretty good right here, and that's as far as I'm going to go, because I still need to do work back in the other part of the runner back here. I set up out here with my camera to do this video for you guys, and it's towards the evening, and it looks pretty shady right here, but right where I'm at up here, I have the sun right in my eyes. So that's always how things work out for me on YouTube, and it makes it very hard for me to do a video without some kind of distraction. And I know I say that a lot, but somebody brought that to my attention the other day. They're like, you know, I notice every time you do a video there's a dog barking, a siren. And I said, yes, that's true, but that's everyday life. And but I do throw a lot of videos in the trash, because a while back I did a video for YouTube, and 75% of the video alarm was going off, and I said that's not fair to make somebody listen to that. And it was one of these videos that I was actually pretty happy with, that I got to say what I wanted to say without making a bunch of blunders, and but I couldn't do that to you guys. So it's not fair I don't like hearing all them noises in the background when people have videos out, and I'm no different than the next guy, so I'm not going to do that to somebody. And I'm just explaining things, what goes on behind the scenes. I'm not complaining. I'm just letting you guys know. And I'm sure you fellas have the same thing happen to you in different situations whenever you're working. A bug flying around you, painting the car with bugs flying on it. You're concentrating on something and you have a fly flying around you or a mosquito biting you. So I'm not the only fella that happens to. Or you're out there working in your car and you got the sun in your eyes. Who knows? That's just how it goes when you do this kind of work, especially when you're outside. And being I'm bringing that up about the sun being in my eyes, you always want to make sure whenever you're doing head work that you don't see like a shadow and you're grinding away. You want to make sure what you're seeing, because a lot of times you'll have something you'll think you're getting a low spot and it will be a shadow. So always make sure you have the correct light. And I'm a good one to talk about that, because I'm the one that tells you all these things, but I'm the biggest hypocrite when it comes to that. Sometimes I push the envelope a little bit and don't always have the right lighting. And like now, I got the sun hitting me, like I told you. So that makes me think of other things to tell you guys to stop you from having trouble. Anyway, I thought I'd show you guys a little bit of this, and also this documents this for Mickey, the one I'm doing the heads for, and it shows him the progress, what's happening here. We're finally getting caught up to the other head that I had already had pretty much done, all but a little bit of blending and finessing. It's around 80 to 90% finished, the other head, but we got a lot done. We're catching up with the other head now, and I've said in other videos, it's always best if you're doing any kind of porting just to stay consistent. If you're doing the port, then do the port on both heads. That way you don't forget your shapes and anything to do with head work. Just try to keep it consistent. And if you're doing the bowl work, then jump on the other head and do the bowl work. But don't do a port and then you're jumping on to something else, or the combustion chamber, and moving around. That's another mistake I've made in the past, jumping around too much. And in my defense, a lot of times I'll do that only because I'll have my sanding rolls go bad, and I'll just move on to something else and think, well, let me get something else done, and I'll grab my other cutter and I'll move on to something else. But if you can, stay consistent and stay on what you're working on. So, like, do your runners on both heads, and then your exhaust on both heads, or whatever way you want to do it. Just try to maintain what you can as far as getting both heads done in the same manner. That's the most I can say about that. Because you see what I'm going through right now, I'm trying to match the other head and catch up to it. And it's a little bit aggravating when you do that. Now, I did kind of do that for YouTube a little bit, because I wanted to show before and after kind of thing, or different stages, and Mickey had asked me if I could do that. So that's one of the reasons I am now in the shape I'm in with this head, trying to catch up to the other head that's almost done. So I try to cover my bases when I tell you guys, because you'll be thinking, well, he's telling us to do that, and yet he didn't do it himself. I say many times, my father always said, you do as I say, not as I do. If I did what my father said, And as he did, though, I'd probably be in good shape because he did things the right way. So that would have been a good thing either way. Anyway, guys, I hope this shows you something. And this was to bring you up to date a little bit and show you what I'm actually doing. I put the intake that I was working on away for today. I wanted to jump back on these, get these heads caught up, and time's going by, and I want to get these heads done. The intake I'll be jumping back on, and we have a lot of work to do with that. Well, you'll probably say what intake? Both intakes, the stock looking 4-hole intake that I modified, and then the Parker intake. So I'm trying to get caught up with these heads, and we'll be switching back and forth, showing different segments on different things here. A lot of that has to do with me not having the materials right now to do epoxy and work. I used up my last bit of epoxy, and I have yet to go to the store and pick up more epoxy. So that's basically why you haven't seen the other intake done, or that would have been finished by now. So that brings you up to date on a few things that we've been doing. Guys that have been watching the channel and wonder why I'm jumping around with this or that, that would show you a little bit, or tell you a little bit what I'm up to and why I'm jumping back and forth. A lot of it's to do with tools and time and everyday life. So anyway, guys, I try to give you something here to help you out a little bit, and if you have any questions, just leave me a comment. And I appreciate all you new subscribers. It's helping the algorithm some, and that's always a good thing, because the more people can get to see what we're doing here, it might help somebody else out that maybe the video wouldn't go out to. I guess that's how YouTube works things out. They kick things out outside the box more when you have more people watching and more people subscribing. So thank you for that, fellas. I appreciate it. And I'm going to do a couple more of these ports and call it a day, because we're starting to lose the sun now, and bugs are getting thick. Mosquitoes are getting hungry, and I don't want to be their meal ticket for tonight. All right, fellas, take care, and God bless you.